Hello there, very warm welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's Wednesday evening and the first day of March. Happy New Month, especially to the women. This is the Women's Month. If you are actually a woman, we are celebrating women in this month, and definitely we will keep supporting women, especially in business here at Smart24 TV. A happy new month, and thank you so much for choosing to join us this evening for discussions concerning policy and our economy. This is the point, and the show focuses mainly on two aspects: policies and economies, and as well integrating that in the business models of Uganda and coming down to the common person and interpreting some of the things that seem to be locked up in the boardrooms apparently. The point, you can catch it on our channel, Smart24 TV. That is at our YouTube channel, Smart24 TV Live. And you can give us feedback on the show through our Twitter handle, that is at Smart24 TV, and get to also like and share the show with your friends and family. My name is Anthony Sebale, and also you can follow me at Anthony Sebale. Now today we are discussing the role of political economy factors in processes and decisions around creation and use of the fiscal space for development. Now, fiscal space, when we talk about fiscal space, we are generally talking about the availability of financial resources, especially from government, which it can use in order to develop infrastructure, make investments, and later on these investments can give returns to government, but also generally to the public, that is the state. And today joining me is none other than Honorable Banyenzachi, and he is a former director of the Operation Wealth Creation.
Not former,
current director of the Operation Wealth Creation and State House, and he's an investor as well. So he's going to give us his insights into what could government do to successfully navigate the political economy factors and be able to also utilize resources fully. You're most welcome, Honorable Banyenzachi.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting me on this channel this evening to discuss this very important topic.
Yeah.
Good evening, viewers.
Thank you. So let's start, Honorable, with a discussion on what you think is affecting currently the utilization of resources in Uganda. Because when you look at what we have in Uganda, first of all, we have one of the most arable lands in Uganda. 80% of our land is arable. You would think that would put us at an advantage agriculturally, but when you look at our produce agriculturally, we are still lagging behind. Even countries like Kenya, which have worse soils than ours, still produce more when you look at the agricultural resources they have at the moment. But now, what do you think is lacking when it comes to utilization, proper utilization of resources in Uganda?
What is lacking for Uganda not to develop and take off? That's a question. I think this aligns very well with the topic we are discussing, the political economy. What's not working and why we lagging behind. When we talk about the political economy, we are basically talking about the distribution of resources to enable production and to propel economic transformation, the socio-economic transformation of a country embedded under the political kind of system or the political factors. Number one, when we talk about our agricultural economy, why are we not using the productivity? The productivity is very low because, first of all, we are under hand-hold agricultural system. Our agriculture is not mechanized. Whereas when you go like in Kenya, that we are referring to, it is mechanized. When you go like, for example, tea growing, it is mechanized, it's modern, they use a harvesting system which is modern. When you go to floriculture, where we even have a better comparative advantage. They are advanced than us. They are making more flowers, which is a Europe product. So, and that's when we talk about, again, we come about how our resources distributed. So as a country, Uganda, if we are to transform our socio-economic transformation, we need to invest more in agriculture. We need to invest in the health of the people. We need to invest in education. So as long as resources are not being channeled into that sector, into agriculture, into health, into skills, into agro-processing, then we shall lag behind. So where are the resources going? If we are having resources going into political administration or the cost of administration, which is the case that is happening to us in Uganda, to some extent, then we are going to lag behind. If the money that is going, for example, in cost of education, cost of administration was being injected into agriculture and production and in the industrial sector, you would be having a lot. We have 500 members of parliament. Each member of parliament count it as a mini processing unit. So that means that for every member of parliament that is being financed within parliament, it is a mini processing unit deprived in a constituency. So that is what we are talking about, distribution. But you are having members of parliament representing poor people who are depending on their handouts. If you are having members of parliament, 500 members of parliament, you are talking about 500, they call them what? Special utility vehicles, four-wheel drives. Those are 500 ambulances that would have been in the hospitals. If you are going to have a cabinet of 80 or close even 80 ministers, these days the minister is escorted by another car. Sometimes there is another front car. So on average, those are 3 cars. Others have 4, others have reserve. So even if you make 2, those are 160 high-end vehicles. So you see the resources, if we had, and those kind of vehicles for ministers, where I belonged at one time, a ministerial car is a heresy unit. It's a moving heresy unit. Actually, it is more than that, because the cars of ministers, they range between 500 to even 900 million. 500 million to 900. It has gone up. That of a speak is 900. Prime Minister, 900. Another vehicle following him, 600. Another vehicle. So you see, we have to be frugal in how we allocate our resources. So the political economy, the distribution of resources, that enable the creation of wealth in this country is not well balanced. The boat is not well balanced. So for the boat to be well balanced, there should be appropriate action. For example, the government has now taken a policy of rationalization of agencies, to say that, oh no, we have too many agencies doing the same thing, duplicating the same thing. We need to harmonize. Have you save money? Ministries should also be rationalized. Have few ministries and save money.
But Honorable, talk about rationalization. I think the efforts have been in vain in that direction. When you look at the departments and ministries and agencies that are being rationalized, these are the same that are going to the budget committee. Can you tell me how many have
been rationalized?
I can't recall one.
That's why you are making a blanket statement. I'm in the center of it. It was done, the policy was done, the policy was passed, but it's not moving. Okay? For example, if you said that we have rationalized 2 years back, and you are still budgeting money for an agency which you said is going to be phased out in the next financial budget, you are budgeting for it. So are you moving in that direction of rationalizing, or you are moving into keeping the status quo? So as far as I'm concerned, maybe like two. Two. One of the agencies that have action have been taken. And when you are going to take action, it must be timely. If you take a decision and move on. But now, for example, when you say you are going to take that rationalization, distribution of resources, and you don't take it, these guys who are in these agencies will not work. That is wastage of time and resources. And as we are talking about this distribution of resources, you have to bear in mind who is taking how much share, who owns what, what's the percentage of the rich in this population. If you are going to have 5% owning 90% of the wealth in this country, then you are not going to be having a transformational agenda, a socio-economic transformation agenda. When you are going to have the wealth concentrating in Kampala, and when it is even concentrated in Kampala, it is concentrated into apartments and beautiful mansions. You're not growing the economy. If it was going to be in Kampala, if you are going to say, let us revitalize Jinja, which was a manufacturing and industrial city, where is it? It is now, all the factories in Jinja are graveyards. Which manufacturing city replaced Jinja that you can talk about? You can talk about Namambe. So, but then you make, it is additional. If you are going to have Namambe should have been an additional to Jinja. You should be this whole of Wakiso.
You shouldn't be taking over. You should just be supplementing what is already in place. But
all
I think
towns,
you see, one is sprouting and the other is dying.
Yes. So the next time, if this Namambe dies, then you are having another industrial city somewhere else, in Mbarara maybe.
Where industries?
Or where, no, I don't know. So we should be, the whole of this, all our cities which we have created, for example, we have created even Kabale, where I come from, as a city, with no industrial hub. What kind of city are you? Cities should be service-based. You have Kabale University there. Where are these graduates who are going to finish in Kabale University? Where are they going to be employed? You don't have anything in Kabale that's going to employ the people.
Coming back to Kampala.
All you are talking about maybe is tourism. Tourism, which you need is tour guides, drivers. That is all, you know. Okay, fine, tourism can also bring money, but you also need a manufacturing sector. Industrialization. We are now coming into the IT revolution, artificial intelligence, AIE revolution, artificial intelligence. So are we using the skills? Are we giving our children appropriate skills? Uganda has the highest youth population in the world, more or less. How are you harnessing this demographic dividend on Uganda? Are you equipping the youth with skills? Are you educating them? Have you provided for health facilities that will take care of the children that are going to be born? Are you building schools? So if you don't harness all these things and tap into, distribute resources accordingly, and you put resources into areas that are not production, that are not for production, and you put into election money, into electioneering, politicking, mobilization, political mobilization, and all the money is going there. Those are not the areas for production. And the little money that is left for production or for appropriate for development is also stolen through corruption. You will never develop. So our political economy should be seen from that kind of angle. Who owns what? How is it distributed? Is it regionally distributed? Is it nationally distributed, or we have a small population controlling, or you have 2, 3, 5% controlling 95%?
Honorable, when you're talking about political economy factors, if you could, how do you see the role of politics in this political economy that we are talking about, in shaping especially economic policy and development outcomes? Because we cannot, yes, absolutely, I agree with you. Politics, we've invested a lot of money in electioneering and so on, but we still need leaders who are capable of putting policies in place
Absolutely.
that can put businesses at the helm.
Absolutely.
So what can they do?
So if you are having, it is through these politicians, I don't know who do policies. So are these politicians coming up with good public policies that will enable production, that will enable equitable distribution of resources, that will enable creation of wealth, that will enable good education, good health? Are we having politicians who are thinking of the people, who will make a policy and say that let us have health for all, universal health coverage, for example, whereby you are sick, you go into a government hospital, you get medicine. Where your children at education, we say universal primary education, children go to government primary schools, get appropriate education, but not say Bonaba Kone. When we are talking about, you are having, when we say wealth creation funds, for example, when we are talking these days, everybody is thinking parish development model. Have you injected in enough money into the parish development model? If you are talking about, say, 100 million per parish, that's what I've been talking about. That's what we are talking about. If you are talking about 100 million, 40% goes into the administration and management of that fund. You are left with 60 million. What will 60 million? Can 60 million develop a parish of 4,000 people? Call it, say, 1,000 households. If you divide that 40 million, 60 million to 1,000 household, you are basically remaining with 60,000 per household. So can you transform a household with 60,000? Injecting more resources. If you say you are going to do infrastructure development, fine, good. What kind of infrastructure have you developed? Have you developed, like, for example, the railway system, which is basically for production? Because if you have a railway going to Pakwach, a railway going to Kasese, all through Bunyoro and Toro, a railway going to Kabale, Rwanda, the railway going to Kabale, Rwanda, will come back with iron ore for steel production. A railway going to Kasese will come with cobalt or copper or whatever it is for production. A railway going to Kamwenje will come with maize for maize milling. A railway going to Pakwach is going to come with something else. A railway going to Bundibujo will come with cocoa. A railway going to Surubu Soga, that's another different maize what. So they should be connecting the railway system, networking and connecting to these industries. But you cannot take an industry, you cannot, for example, have a steel industry in Kabale because you don't have a railway system. If you are going to have this power, where is it? Energy. Where is energy concentrated? In the central. Even when it is in the central, it is not enough. High voltage power that's meant for production. Do you have high voltage power in Mbarara? No. In Kabale? No. In Iksoro? No. In Kamwenje? No. In Kasese? No. So how do you expect for somebody to take a decision and locate an industry in Kabale where there is no energy, where there is no electricity? So if you say this infrastructure, railway system, energy, we have Lake Victoria, how are we utilizing it? We have an inland port called Port Bay. How much is Portland, Port Bell generating for the country? What is the trade around the lake? Make Port Bell infrastructure effective and functional. You will be trading with Tanzania through to Mwanza. You will trade to Kisumu. This lake, the lake, all these regions surrounding the lake will be trading each other. You will trade with the whole of Tanzania, Mwanza region. So, what are you using? Do you have an infrastructure, a navigation system? Do you have goods would be coming from Mombasa by railway to Kisumu, on the lake, to Bukakata, Masaka, to where? To everywhere, to Jinja. Jinja, that port is called what? Inland, Jinja.
Yes.
Yes. But we are still into that kind of ancient infrastructure, not modern infrastructure. Why? Appropriate resources have not been allocated.
Thank you so much.
When you talk about how are we using the artificial intelligence, the technology, whereas other countries, for example, talk about Rwanda, the drugs are taken by drone. You lift the drugs to a hospital in Kisoro by a drone, drops to Skabali, drops to Mbarara, in a timely manner. But you are having mothers dying because they cannot have blood transfusion because it's not available. The blood bank is only in Kampala. If you have that kind of intelligence, technology, you will have a drone lifting blood, taking it to Mbarara in a record time of 1 hour, drops it at Mbarara hospital for blood transfusion of a woman in Mbarara, she wouldn't die. Or Ginger. Are we using all those kind of technologies? No, we are not. Here, when we talk about the health of the people, where is the concentration of hospitals? Kampala. And here, even if when they're concentrated in Kampala, we are having medical tourism. We are sending our patients to die in Nairobi, to die in India, to die in America. All our leaders. Is there any leader who has been medicated here?
No.
Do you know how much money we have spent on them? Can't we have these facilities in Murago?
Definitely we can.
What happened to the money that we had allocated for the sophisticated hospital at Ruboa? Those are the issues of governance. So this one you are talking about political economy.
Yes.
These are the issues we are talking about.
Yes.
How are resources distributed? How are resources to make sure that the resources you distribute are utilized? How are we implementing the resources that we have? The biggest problem we have in Uganda now is debt management. When we borrow money, how are we using it? But if you are going to borrow money and you don't use it, and you are servicing the debt, close to almost even more than 10% of our budget is servicing the debts that we have acquired.
Foreign debt. Thank you so much,
Exactly.
Honorable.
And when we are talking about even that foreign debts, we have domestic debts.
Yes.
We have accumulated domestic areas. We are not paying suppliers who have supplied government. That's the private sector. So if you are holding close to 4 trillion of the private sector, then that means that you have withdrawn even the money that the private sector had, the business people. You are holding it, and you are not paying them with impunity, and they are losing their businesses. Banks are auctioning their stuff. They get out of their business. They fail to do their business. So what kind of policies that we are talking about that enable the private sector to thrive, and that enable the social transformation of the nation?
Thank you so much, Honorable. We're taking a very short commercial break, and we return very briefly. We are talking today about the fiscal space and the political economy factors that do influence decision making in the fiscal space and government allocation of resources. How can we make it more effective, more efficient, and directed towards the public service, especially when it comes to the common person? How can they be able to feel the touch of government, getting to utilize our own arable land, getting to utilize our oil? And when we return, Honorable, we would like to touch a little bit into the sectors of education, the integration of the East African community and the African continent as well. And as well, you talked about the AI, artificial intelligence, and a couple of other factors that can influence this political economy. My name is Anthony. You're watching Smart24 TV. Stay with us.